from Idaho. I strive to provide interesting videos about motorcycles, fabrication, welding, electronics, machining, and general creativity. I hope you enjoy. Hello from Idaho. Got another Jeep project. The Jeep came with a trailer hitch. Looks like it was a U-Haul. And I was all excited to change balls and use it. This has been over a year ago. But it turns out that the receiver is stuck in the hitch. And so I tried a sledgehammer, didn't work. So then I did some online research, and people claim that soaking it in vinegar will loosen it. So I soaked it, made a special tub that I could jack up there, soaked it in vinegar for 3 days, more sledgehammer, didn't help. Well then, I welded on this big bar and put a 6-ton jack between here and the receiver hitch, and another 6-ton jack between here and the receiver hitch. And thanks to good old GoPros, I lost that footage. But anyway, I tried to jack the tongue, or the receiver, out of the hitch. And with two 6-ton jacks pumping as hard as I couldn't get it to move. And I even tried a little bit of sledgehammer action on top of that. So, at any rate, that leads me to my next project, which is I'm replacing the entire thing. So I went to Facebook Marketplace and bought a hitch. Okay, in the shop now. Thank goodness for Facebook Marketplace and Craigslist and whatnot. This is a full receiver hitch for a Jeep XJ. One of the parts that fits every single year produced. And so I got the receiver hitch, a toe point with a pin, nut strips which go inside the frame rails, the unibody frame, before anybody has a cow. Hardware, I still need to find some plot washers, and for significantly less than what you can get it online or from U-Haul or whatever. All of these, I shouldn't say all, but a lot of these receiver hitches look exactly alike. I think U-Haul and Curtis are the big brands. I don't know who makes them, but they all look exactly the same. This one's got a big M on it with the little cover that goes over the receiver hitch. I just bought this drop F offset for my ball that I had on the other one, and that slides in there. I had to pay new price for that, 30 bucks. It fits in here. It's dropped. I don't really need this much drop yet, but I'm within a few weeks or a month or so of putting on a 3.5-inch lift kit and 33-inch tires. And so, according to my calculations, that should be enough, but it might not be. One of the problems with these hitches, in fact, most towing packages, although the new vehicles are beginning to come wired with plug-ins, is that there is no facility provided to put on a trailer light connector. And so I bought this one down at Nampa Auto Parts, and I found out by trying it on my trailer that there are two different 4-pin standards. This will not plug into the 4-pin on my trailer, so I'm gonna have to change both ends. Fortunately, right now I only own one trailer, so I only have to change one trailer. And then I need to buy another one of these and wire it up with a pigtail, because I keep one of those in my vehicle in case I need to pull an odd trailer that's, let's say, wired with 7-pin, or it's wired with a little flat 4-pin, or it's not wired at all. Then with a test light and some connectors, I can hook up to the odd trailer, so I need another one of these. Anyway, back to my point is there's no real good facility provided for where this should go. Stand by. Okay, I'm back. That little doorbell you heard was my wife's call system for me in case she needs something. She's not really very well, and so I get a little bit of time in the shop, but I have to be on call. So I've rigged up this call button thing that runs throughout the house, and she just presses a little button, and here I come. So at any rate, I can't remember exactly where I was. I think I was talking about these guys being non-standard, and the fact that there's no real good place to mount them. Well, you see this mark here? I'm going to mount it through the square tubing right here. So it'll sit flush. It won't be a drag hazard, and it'll be protected. But if you make a big enough hole in this tube for this thing to go through, well, then it becomes weaker. So I have this little length of DOM tubing, and so this fits in there with no problem. And I'll drill a hole in both sides. Cut this off, weld it in, and then it'll be as strong as it was. But my trailer light connector will go right in there, and then I'll drill and tap a couple of holes to mount it. So that's really all the modification I need to do to it. Well, good morning. I changed my mind. My other DOM tubing fit on this connector pretty loosely, so I dug through my scrap bin and found this piece of black pipe, 1-inch threaded, and it's a really good fit. And so I'm just going to make it the right length. Okay, that piece is done now. Just need to bevel the corners for welding. Now you can begin to see my vision. This goes in there. It'll weld in front to back, front and back, and that will make this tube as strong as it ever was. And then this will go in here, wire it up, run the wires out the back. This will go in here and get a couple of bolts to hold it in. And then even if it does scrape on something, why it won't hurt anything. This part right here is the piece that gets the most wear off-road. Most XJs don't have a gas tank skid, but they mostly don't need one if you've got a receiver hitch, because it kind of defines the departure angle, and it'll slide off of ledges and whatnot and kind of protect the rest. Okay, here's my welding setup. I've got the hitch clamped to the table because I need a good ground, and this is all powder coated. And you can see this thing fits in there. It sticks up a 1/16 of an inch. Got my torch holder, of course. And here's my ground down here. So this is the beginning of the front side weld. Okay, let's see if we can get a couple of tacks. Okay, she fits. Time to make a couple of taps. Find a couple of bolts. Okay, we got a couple of button head stainless. Those might even be chrome, I don't know. Okay, quarter 20 uses a 208. Number 7, I believe. Okay. Okay, let's set her on about number 7. Nine. Okay. I guess there's nothing left to do but to paint. Alright, there she is. That's what it's going to look like on the back of Elvira. Okay, we got the trailer hitch on. Straightforward. Take the old one out, put the new one in. A couple of weeks ago I had the bumper off and hosed down all of those bolts and whatnot with some penetrating oil. And I did it again prior to taking it apart. And so everything came apart pretty good. And I got it all put back together. And so we're securely mounted. We could tow stuff now. But we can't drive the lights on the trailer yet. All the trailers I've ever had have a combined stop and turn element and then a taillight element. And so it's really just a 4-wire connection if you count ground. So one taillight, one left turn, one right turn, but the left turn is also a stop and the right turn is also a stop. This vehicle and all European vehicles, many of the newer American vehicles, have an independent stop and turn. And so typically you need a converter to convert individual stop and turn to combined stop and turn. You can actually do it with a pair of diodes, about a $10 problem. But the last time I was in here, I think I remember this having a converter in it. And so when we get it apart, we'll know a little bit more. Oh no, here we go. Here's the converter module. And I've always wondered what that clunk was in the corner here. So it's still got its double sticky tape on it. I'm going to stick it in here where it's where it doesn't clunk. If you didn't happen to be lucky enough to have one of these converters already installed, there is a company called Curt, C-U-R-T. They make a lot of these receiver hitches, and they sell a converter specifically for the XJ that plugs into the factory wiring harness, so there's no splicing or anything. And then you just, it's a little box that looks like that, and it gives you a pigtail just like this. So now the hard part is figuring out where I'm going to drill the body. I think I'll come out in this corner here, away from that clamp, and I'm going to drill it from the bottom. Okay, if you've been doing fabricating or wiring long enough, you'll have a little baggie full of grommets, because when you need one, you go down to the auto parts store or wherever you see them and you can't buy one, you have to buy a dozen or 20 or an assorted pack. And so the trick here is to I'd like to cut off this pigtail with enough wire on it so that I could use it on a later project in case a friend needs a pigtail or who knows what. And then the reason I'm doing that now is because I need to get this wire to go through a grommet. Well, it's flat, but we can split it. And then fold it over on itself, and now it's square. And so I picked a grommet that's too big. And this is important because we need to know what size to drill in the body. Okay, there's one that fits. It's a little loose, but the center hole in the grommet will get a little bit smaller once you install it. Yay. A pair of dial indicators or vernier or digital or whatever will tell us how big that grommet is. how big a hole to drill. Right now we're at 430, which is about 7/16. So I'll go look up what drill bit is next to 430. If you wonder why I go back and forth so much, it's because my shop is full of stuff, and so I have to work on the driveway. If you want to see what my shop looks like, I've got a video that's a small shop tour, and I'll put a link to it in the description. Okay, let's see how good I did at locating it from the bottom. Aha, right there where I need it. Okay, that should be big enough. Now, before I put that grommet in, I want to paint from the bottom. Okay, it's a little while later now. Had to go buy groceries and let my paint dry. But now I have my little grommet in the floor and my wire hooked up to the control box. And so the wire is run out along the frame through the hitch, and we're ready for wiring. Okay. So we need to take the connector piece out of the inside of the holder, held in by one little screw. And don't forget this, put this on your wires. It's very annoying when you do that. Fortunately, it's got a spring and it kind of holds itself. Okay, number one mistake people make is cutting this too short. So here's probably a good distance. And then we'll separate these into individual wires so we can strip them and put them in the connector. So I checked the output with a test light, and so yellow is left turn, green is right turn, brown is tail lights, and white is the ground. And that conforms to the national standard. There's also a national standard for how to hook this up, and it depends on where the key is. So let's see, this thing, the little hole is opposite of the key. Okay, so that means the key is up here, and they have it marked. So I always print out a copy of the national standard, cover it in packing tape, and then use it for my work. But I also will put it inside the fender well here, or inside the cover for future reference. Might be handy someday if I've got no tail lights or no turn signals and I need to troubleshoot it on the road. You can just look at the little connector block and see how far to strip them. Okay, now something I've been doing for 50 years is I go ahead and tin those ends with solder instead of clamping these screws down on the bare copper. It makes it a little bit stronger. And I've had probably, let's see, motorcycle trailer, car hauler, utility trailer, motorcycle. I've had, I don't know, probably 4 or 5 trailers in that time. And, you know, knock on wood, I've never had to troubleshoot a lighting problem. So it may or may not be a good idea. I think the current methodology is to put a ferrule on the end, which is a crimp type connector. But let's get this puppy fired up. This is my little portable propane powered soldering iron. I keep one in the Jeep. It's a great fire starter, and it's good for soldering or desoldering or melting plastic together, various things. But it's actually pretty good as a soldering iron too. Okay, shut it off and put it on its little stand. To let it cool off. So now we can put those things into this connector block. And this is the key. And so on my little diagram, and I'll show this to you big on the screen. On the car side, if you go from the key clockwise, it's green, white, yellow, brown, which is right turn, ground, left turn, and tail lights. Some people will wrap this connection with black tape. I've taken some of those apart, and they're still full of debris, so I don't really do that anymore. What I prefer to do is, when you get this thing back into the housing, is to squirt it full of silicone sealer, some sort of gasket material or something like that. Okay, they're all tight now, but I took this off to see it. Now I get to take all this off and put it back on. I'm not going to show you all that. Okay, I'm back. I fixed my mistake. For all of those that caught it before I did, I wish you'd said something. All right, let's see. All right, we got the key in it. Now we got to put this tiny little machine screw in there. Okay, now we have it all put back together. I'm going to put some silicone in there and make a good seal here. And then we'll mount it to the hitch. Pull all the excess wire up here into the cab. It's typically called a service loop. That's why I say don't make the mistake of making it too short. Just make it workable, and then pull the extra up into the body and coil it up and save it. And that way, if you ever need to shorten it an inch or whatever, you're not totally out in the woods. You don't have to run new wires. I've already slipped on 3 pieces of heat shrink over that wire, so the places where it's going to touch the hitch, touch the frame, etc., will all be heat shrink protected. And I'll try to get the camera up under there and show you that when I'm done. So it's time to test. Always test before you finish. Okay, time to test. Hook find the ground. I got the right turn signal blinking, which should be the first one clockwise from the key. And my test light is blinking. So that one's wired correctly. Okay, I got some Permatex Clear RTV. Could be anything. But just squirt as much down past the wire as it takes to fill up the hole. You don't have to fill the whole cavity. All you're trying to do is keep water and mud and stuff from getting in from this direction. And I usually put a little bit on the wires too, so that it can't go between the wires. Then we just let it dry. Okay, had to go buy groceries, make some dinner, etc., etc., etc. And so my silicone is now dry. The first piece of heat shrink is going to protect this wire as it comes out of the hitch and goes back into the body. And use my little butane soldering iron / heat shrink maker. Okay, now we can put this guy in for the final time. And that's what all the work was about. A nice sanitary trailer hitch wiring. Now I gotta crawl under and put some more heat shrink in a couple more places and wire tie the wiring up. I will show you the end result though. Okay, we're under the Jeep right now, so you can see where the wire comes out of the trailer hitch. Makes a right turn. That's protected by heat shrink tubing, and then it goes along the trailer hitch, and another piece of heat shrink tubing protects it while it goes through the opening in the hitch, and then a third piece of heat shrink tubing protects it where it's wire tied to the let's see, what is that? That is the shroud around the filler neck. And then it comes over here and goes through that grommet and into the cab. and it comes up into the cab, and here's where we store our extra wire, and there's the conversion module. So this will tuck back in there like this. And then the side panel will go back on. Almost forgot to show you one thing. I have taped down the connector pinout onto the side of the Jeep. So anytime I take off this panel and I might need to work on the converter module or the wiring or whatever, I'll know what the pinout is on the plug-in. Of course, I have it in my records as well, but it's nice to have one in here. Okay, back to the way it was when I started. And here's my little hitch with this little trailer connector, all very subtle and subdued. Thanks for watching, and goodbye from Idaho. As usual, if you like or dislike my video, please select the appropriate button and let me know why. I really appreciate comments, and I will answer every one. If you're new to my videos, please select the subscribe and the notification bell to get more videos like this.